Welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Lauren Sauer, Director of Events for Jamie Scotto & Associates, your host for today. This call is meant to be an interactive session, so questions are more than welcomed. They are encouraged. Should you have any questions during the presentation, please use the question feature located on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Type the questions in the text box, then click the drop-down menu to send your message to the host by selecting Submit. Now I'd like to introduce you to Sandra Gianabellis, the U.S. Marketing Director of Telehouse America.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Transformation of the Digital Media Industry session. I would like to take this moment to introduce our two speakers for today. We have Chris Wallace, VP of Channels for CDNetworks, and he heads the CDNetworks Global Channels team. Chris has 18 years of experience spanning CDN, data center, and cloud services. Also, he was instrumental in the success of BitGravity, Digital Pipe, and Exodus Communications, where he helped define colocation. Fred Canone is the Director of Sales and Marketing, and Fred has over 25 years experience in executive management, technical sales, marketing for data center and hosting providers, international voice, IP, and data carriers, as well as global trade intelligence. So Fred will kick off this presentation, and we welcome them both. So Fred, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you, Lauren. It's good to be with you. Appreciate everyone visiting with us today, and hopefully we will shed a little light on what's happening with digital media and certainly what's changing in the environment that we live, since every day really brings a new challenge for all of us, and some instant transformations we're beginning to see. So I'd like to simply start with a little bit of the outline for what the discussion today is going to be. So briefly, we'll introduce ourselves. That is certainly the Telehouse, CDNetworks, and our relationships. Talk a little bit about what our friends at Gartner are predicting for this year and certainly beyond for the industry. Just a brief introduction for those of you that don't know Telehouse America, essentially who we are. And then, of course, we'll turn that over to CDNetworks, and obviously our friends there, Chris, will talk about certainly what's happening with CDNetworks and how they view, frankly, their world and the impacts that they're seeing going forward. So without further ado, let's move on to the next slide. And as I mentioned, in the interest of full disclosure, we'll just talk about a little bit about who we are, what we're doing. So we are privately held organizations owned by, in major part by KDDI, and KDDI certainly is a global, second largest Japanese provider of telecommunications. So they certainly operate a global network. Telehouse is their global data center and colocation brand managing currently, and we'll talk about 46 facilities around the world. Also, KDDI is also a cloud service provider at many different levels, including what we're coming to know as cloud services and cloud computing, as well as certainly our friends that are with us today at CDNetworks in the form of delivering the content delivery for a variety of global brands around the world. So moving on. Let's go back. Just a little too ambitious. Okay, one more time. Okay, sorry about that. Well, let's talk about, maybe I could go back. Yes, okay. So a little bit about sort of vertical explanation, what KDDI is doing these days, essentially certainly optimizing and improving upon CDN's technology, essentially reinforcing the network competitiveness and ultimately providing value. And clearly CDNetworks, although I'm sure Chris will do better justice to this, is in the business ultimately of improving the quality of service and business efficiency by delivering their global distribution, network distribution platform. And ultimately, the idea for all of us is really to provide accessible, affordable, and really high-quality services for our clients. And certainly their objective, notwithstanding Asia, is to be the #1 content delivery platform. So moving on ahead to what Gartner's predictions are that we talked about at the top. Essentially, they're predicting, among many things, and again, this really speaks to the trend of the world that we live in today, and certainly the topic at hand, is that 90% of the technology spend going forward will be outside of the strict IT environment. And for those of us that are a little bit older and understand sort of the evolution of how this has come to pass, this is really a major change in how resources ultimately will be spent. So traditionally, as you all know, when we talked about technology spend, it was always focused purely in the IT environment of organizations, and now we begin seeing that really is really changing dramatically. And to that end, and in conjunction with that, ultimately to wind up managing where those resources go and to what benefit, organizations ultimately create the role of Chief Digital Officer as part of the business unit leadership. And ultimately, this will, in fact, become a new board or seat member at the executive table for most organizations. So with that much spend or that much resources being allocated outside the traditional IT environment, no doubt that this is going to need and play a greater role in the overall business making of corporations. Also, Gartner's predicting, and again, in line with the same trend, is that by 2015, 25% of organizations will have a chief digital officer. And the reality is that we actually have at least that, if not a greater, chief digital officer, but they're currently have different titles, interesting enough. But the work that we're doing, certainly the folks that we talk to from a Telehouse point of view, Chris will talk to this, we'll talk forward, is that even the traditional titled IT folks are playing a greater role in this oversight area. So moving on. So where's the shift? What's the shift? As a result of all that, clearly organizations are digitizing segments of the business, and I think this is happening, frankly, with all of us, and certainly moving the resources that they're spending in the marketing and obviously in other areas from the traditional analog really to the digital arena, and ultimately digitizing all of that, certainly the research and development budgets. No doubt that this is becoming a much more pervasive and certainly more important area in terms of keeping organizations and our clients ultimately informed about what's going on in our businesses and ultimately, frankly, monetizing it. So secondly, organizations are digitizing how they service their clients in order to drive client retention. And then thirdly, as I just mentioned, that they're turning all this digitization into new revenue streams. So it's clear that all of us, and we see some of it in terms of how the applications have turned out or are manifesting themselves in the social environment, are really turning into not only how we deliver information, but clearly what and how we can improve our bottom lines associated with that information. So moving on, and then finally looking certainly forward, distant future, the whole point is that creating an environment where information technology no longer defines the rules. It is clearly a key in achieving personal and enterprise productivity and innovation, where technology is natural and pervasive, that we don't need to hold it in our hands. It's just part of our lives. And again, couldn't agree more with Mr. Willis on this, because even at this stage of the game, as we see, the movement to the whole mobile environment, whether it be phones or, for that matter, pads, that increasingly not just among young people, but clearly among people my age. We are moving forward to a more digital environment and relying increasingly more heavily on it. This year, from a data center point of view, certainly where Telehouse lives, their forecast is that for at least this year, if not going forward, they're still confirming strong growth in data center usage and ultimately leading to an increase in cloud traffic globally. And finally, a growing desire to access personal and business content anywhere by literally on any device by anyone is a sort of testimony by Mr. Merritt from Cisco. Okay. And all of this clearly plays into what we're all doing these days, moving to a more virtual environment, our own virtual IT environments. So again, according to our friends at Cisco, it's clear that the next generation internet will be an essential component to enabling greater data center virtualization and a new world of interconnected clouds. Well, again, this clearly speaks to the issue of digitizing information as efficiently and as, to steal a word from our medical friends, efficaciously, so that we all benefit at whatever level we need it to benefit us for. Just by way of just quick introduction, as we before we move ahead to Chris and CDNetworks. For those of you that are not familiar with Telehouse, we own and operate about 46 data centers around the world currently. We started in 1989 and humbly at the first teleport on the planet, with the first telehouse on the planet at the teleport facility in Staten Island, New York. All our facilities, of which we operate 3 in the United States currently, actually 4 in the United States, are all SSAE 16 certified, and we continue to specialize at our core data center services, including colocation peering, connectivity, and a variety of scalable IT services. The whole point is Telehouse seeks to provide the best customizable fit for all of our clients, regardless of what size of the industries, what size businesses or industries that they're in, and clearly in terms of how we're positioning ourselves globally, really designed to meet the not only the risks facing us certainly in the next few years, but obviously also being able to take advantage of all of the evolving technology, no doubt, movement to the cloud as we move forward. So, and you know what, I think I'm going to skip this, although it's probably worth mentioning that along with that, from a network perspective, one of the things that Telehouse certainly believes in as core principle is that we're carrier neutral, and our investment in that is ultimately our peering exchanges. Where possible globally, I think the statistic is that 95% of all Telehouse facilities around the globe have a public peering fabric, regardless of whether we own it or it's a third party. And here in the United States, we operate NIAX and the Los Angeles exchanges. So moving on, and let's see if we can get to the next slide. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chris Wallace, who Sandra talked a little bit about going forward, and Chris will discuss the CDNetworks view of the world and discuss a little bit about what they're doing relative to the major part that they're playing in bringing digital information to the rest of the world. Chris? Chris, you there?
Yes, we are. Sorry, we were still muted at the moment. Thank you very much, Fred, for handing that off. Nice, informative, and thank you everyone else for joining us today. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to talk about this when we start looking at digital media and the way things are going into the future and how user adoption is happening. We're starting to see a lot of growth in other markets, and some of the things that media companies need to think about as they advance into those markets. So to begin with, here's a quick little sort of scan of the top 1 million websites that are out there according to Alexa. And as you can see, their icons represent their reach. The bigger the icon, the more reach they have. And there's one thing that's very common between every one of these guys. They all use content delivery to deliver their media throughout the globe. In the world that we're going after, when companies are looking at creating media and things like that today, they need to think about where their content is going to be consumed. And here you can see the largest number of users are basically in Asia and Europe. Those are markets that are not necessarily right here in the United States, that we need to think about delivery and how we can reach these users with the best user experience. And in this graph, what we're showing is that the market, or the importance of performance in your site, can be a make or break towards the success. If you don't have a fast performing site, your users will leave, and you will end up having to reacquire those users in another direction. And in this particular graph, one of the things we like to point out with, going back to where the biggest growth will be coming from, when we look at it, 44% of all users on the internet are in the APAC region of the world. And in this particular element here, we see that the APAC region is roughly 24% penetrated. There is a huge growth opportunity in the APAC region, and that's one of the things we really want to talk about on how companies can expand and gather these eyeballs in these markets. So let's begin with a little bit of how do web pages work. To begin with, the simple mechanics of a web page has changed fundamentally over time. It's no longer a picture and text, but now it's a combination of resources that need to come together. These are like APIs, small objects, large objects, scripts, and so on. So in this particular example, this is a website or a company that has one website located in Chicago, where we'll call this the origin, the web server. And we show a path directly to the server, and if it happens to be a surge of traffic or routing failures, the content could be disrupted or slowed down from congestion because it relies on one location to fetch its main data. Therefore, if you replicate your site to the edges of the internet, you will be able to redirect the users to route around any user experienced problems. So adding even a little bit of a layer of complexity here, when websites are generating real-time data, this is stuff that cannot be created or stored ahead of time. This is called dynamic content. This content, which might be an API call or web services, secure transactions, this content cannot be predicted. It changes for every user and is the heart of the user engagement, which drives adoption. To give you an example of this type of an adoption, this is one of our customers, Talking Tom. I think a lot of people have probably heard of Talking Tom. He's been downloaded over 400 million times. And they have had a great success with this app, and it continues to become very viral worldwide. When an app like this becomes successful, this could be a real nightmare for a company. A good problem, but a real problem. And in this example, they did not have time to build out facilities to handle their growth. They had to find a partner that could scale and provide a fast, consistent experience and provide 24-hour support. And they found all of this with CDNetworks. So why does this really matter? And it's really, as the slide's coming in slowly for me, sorry, the thing that's really important about this is that companies are looking at the growth markets. And businesses need to think about performances or their performance needs when they go into these markets, because the internet is still maturing in some of these areas, and you need to have a solution that can still guarantee a good user experience. So let's go through that. And let me actually take an opportunity of really why this is important. The further the web server is from your users, the slower the response and less impactful the user experience is going to be. And this is where CDNetworks comes into play. We are a service provider who enables the use of our technology and resources without the requirement of buying hardware or software. Our solution can be bought and placed into services in a modular fashion. We also have a global network. Our footprint is truly everywhere. We have nodes in over 140 locations around the world and a large network of highly scalable and redundant servers on every continent and almost every developed country as well. And here's an example of our network map. As you can see that it is fairly extensive. One of the things I also like to point out, we're also we are the only provider that has full deployment inside of Russia. And Russia has 7 different time zones. How do you manage all that? And that's where our customers come to us to be able to use that. And having a footprint like this is extremely valuable. Here's some of our customers. All of these folks rely on a CDN to basically deliver their content and create the best user experience and also consistency for all of their users. So our customers, they can use any part of our suite of services. They're designed to be modular and can be applied in stages or all at once. Some companies come to us for just one need, like China or Russia, or maybe DNS. We're able to help them individually. And on top of that, all of these services can be combined with our PCI compliant backbone, which enables more of a commerce and secure transactions when it comes to delivering digital media and content that needs to be secured. Again, why is this important? We are committed to providing scalable growth at the best performance. We constantly measure ourselves to be the best performance for our user experiences. Now, one of the things about China and why we have gone there is mainly because of one thing. Our customers require it. We realize that we have to be able to help our customers get through challenges that are in other parts of the world. So therefore, when we look at the Great Firewall, sites get blocked every day. Bandwidth gets constrained, videos stop, HTTP timeouts occur. And the only way to get around these problems is if you're inside the firewall. As you can see, there's a lot of illegal things or forbidden items within this. So therefore, having someone available that can help guide you and give you insight through the regulations and through the processing and basically be your representative within the country is extremely key. And that's one of the things that we do here for you. And here on my final slide, one of the things I really like to point out here is that performance is extremely important to your media success, especially if you're trying to expand into some of these growth markets or even in areas beside your own zip code. We enable companies to deliver media to users no matter where they are in the world, and performance is the #1 element for us. Within that, I'd like to open up to questions and answers and see if there's any questions that we can help you out with.
Great. So this is Lauren again, and we have a few minutes remaining, and Fred and Chris would be happy to answer questions. So as a reminder, if you have a question, please type your question in the question window located on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And it looks like this one just came in, and it is for Telehouse. What managed services do you offer in addition to colocation?
Well, okay. Well, thanks very much for the question. By the way, Chris, thank you very much. It's always interesting to see how, what's driving traffic or how traffic is being driven around the world. We here in the United States keep thinking that we're sort of the center of the universe, but clearly not in view of those statistics. Back to the question. Yes, what Telehouse is doing is we're providing essentially scalable IT support services, and they vary in terms of what the clients want. The point is that it's not a specifically packaged solution. Literally, it's whatever the client needs, whether it be things like simple monitoring or up to and including literally owning the process, and by owning, meaning the full responsibility for the uptime and performance of the client's both applications as well as network. I think one of the things that differentiates us from potentially other competitive colleagues out there is that our clients could literally pick and choose the device of service that they need and when they need it. So regardless of where you are on the planet or where you need to be on the planet, even for that matter, if it's not in a telehouse facility, for example, we'll be able to bring about that solution. And I think ultimately that's the biggest differentiator for us, and our clients really appreciate that. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Fred. This one's for CDN. So I have a video portal and want to speed up my recommended thumbnails to keep users viewing more similar videos. Is that something that CDN can help with?
Yes. Are we online? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure I was still on mute. Yes, that is something that we help people with every day. In fact, that gets back to the personalization. Those are often small little XML files that sort of give the cookies of the user and the type of user, previous videos that they've watched, and they need to process that stuff. And what happens is that these are coined as web service calls, and a lot of video portals are really trying to engage and get longer engagements with their users, and they find that by sending personalized recommendations at the completion of a video, it works very much to keep people engaged to watch another video and another and so on. And we find that with having this personalization really requires a strong web services call, and we speed up all of those, or we even help people redirect those to other web service farms that they may have around the globe. So if they happen to run different data centers, we can send the redirect to the appropriate data center as well.
Thank you, Chris. Here's the next question. What type of cloud security options are available both around services for TIA and CDN?
Chris, do you want to take that?
Sure. Well, I think for security services, there's multiple angles to look at it. When you look at media, a lot of the content licensing requires you to be able to secure your digital media. A lot of times people will look at that as a secure token where they can prevent people from downloading files that are not authorized. Additionally, they may want to have HTTPS capabilities where they can lock down the users that can have a direct connection to the servers. And basically, we enable all of those features. We can secure the content, including in geolocation. So if a particular video site has licensing for only the United States or only Europe or a specific country only, we can actually lock it down so that only those users are able to see the content. So we have some users that are in other parts of the world where they do live broadcasts, and they cannot let any users from outside the country see those type of broadcasts. That's all part of the security controls that we have built into our platform for our clients.
And if I could just add to that, just from a general data center services point of view, frankly, as part of the scalable IT solutions that we provide, we, Telehouse, can provide a variety of different security, both directly as well as cloud-based security solutions for clients that need it. And frankly, that's at every level, whether it be simple virus protection on up to and including authentication issues, as well as profiling and analyzing traffic for potential violators of networks, or for that matter, both internally and externally for companies. So.
Thank you. So we have time for just one more question. and this is for CDN. What type of tech support is offered for the CDN services?
For tech support, here at CDNetworks, we have a great support organization, from pre-sales to post-sales. From a pre-sales perspective, we have solution engineers that can come in to help you craft out the right architecture of what you need to do to deliver your media globally or just within your neck of the neighborhood. As far as other services, like after being a customer, we have the capabilities of working, or our account management team will work with you on a regular basis. We are available 24 hours a day, and basically we help our customers understand how their content is being consumed. So we go through the log file reports, the dashboards, and so on, so that our customers understand the best available resources that they have access to using our platform.
Wonderful. Well, this concludes today's presentation. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And should you have additional questions, please feel free to email info@telehouse.com for more information. The replay link will be available and sent to you shortly.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers. Have a great day.
Thank you.